Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me.
Well, welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. A very exciting today, not just because spaghetti hair has been cut off, but because actually the new computer is coming. So very excited about that. We got a few things to talk about on Bitcoin, follow from yesterday's action, as we've mostly been in range, which is to be expected after a nice move up. Anyways, what else do I want to say? Twitch will be live later tonight, barring any sort of like major, massive disasters, technically speaking. However, I won't have, well, maybe I will need to set up the new computer. I'm not sure just yet, but I think I'll be back on tonight, somewhere around, somewhere between about 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern time start time, and we'll be running for like 3 or 4 hours, whatever it ends up being. Anyways, what else do I want to say? New site is live. We got the application coming tomorrow, which is going to just have the first screen available, and then we're going to be building it out with each and every passing week with more and more additions to that. The base functionality of the application will be 100% free, and of course, that's where everything is hosted now. So if you are in the programs, if you're in the or if you're in the indicators, that's where it's going to be. And that also means that the Jewel is back, and that can be found in the description of this video. Anyways, this video might be abrupt because I am expecting a delivery, that beautiful computer, hopefully coming. and if that does happen, I'll probably have to close the video. So just a little bit of a fair warning in advance. Anyways, as always, I would like to wish you the best and the haps of the happiest because, well, it's a fucking Thursday, man. Anyways, I'm pressing that button. I want to see that new transition, and I'll see you in the live scene. And there she is, Bitcoin on the daily. And as far as it stands right now, you know, following up from yesterday, I pretty much have the same idea as yesterday. I do think that Bitcoin's actually likely setting up for a little bit of a pullback here. However, my opinion, as always, is garbage. My opinion is worthless. What I'd really rather see here is a break out of this very, very obvious range that we are constructing right now between about 8,600 even as our low. And actually, I'm gonna grab a fresh chart for this one because I want to just focus on the lower time frames right now. So we'll do this on this chart right here. We'll use 8,600 as a low base point, and we'll use, let me actually get my shift key over there. There we go. And we'll use, and actually let's make this both parallel. You know what? Let's just make this fucking parallel. How about that? We'll get this guy right there, get this guy right there, and lovely. Anyways, as long as Bitcoin's kind of operating within this region, I wouldn't necessarily be willing to call a direction just here. Like I said, I am kind of biased to the downside, as I do think that momentum oscillators is getting split up here. But this offers up a very easy trading range to be had, and any sort of a break to the upside, which of course is possible with a 4-hour total closing above our critical level of about 88.20, the same level from yesterday. Again, you know, just still acting as our more preliminary resistance, gonna shoot us up likely to the 9100-ish level, maybe a little bit higher than that, as I would imagine that, you know, the liquidation and get started above there, and that would be also consistent with somewhere around the daily 200 simple moving average as well. So anywhere in this little pocket right here is where I'll be looking towards if we do break north, even though I do think it's a little bit less likely today. But hey, again, my opinion is irrelevant. I'm not trading this right now. And also to the downside, you know, looking at the same sort of formation right here, the good old rectangle, I would be looking at a move towards about 83.50-ish region. I would expect to bounce in this region right here, anywhere between about 83 even and 83.50. And we'll put another blue box down around here. And I do think that, you know, that sort of a bounce is going to be very indicative of to where we actually are in the general market cycle. Are we ready to actually change around the macro trend? Let me just make sure that I'm recording. Okay, I am recording and the microphone's working. This is good. Off to a good start, man. Holy shit. Late start a little bit for me. And it's actually bright and sunny in Helsinki today, which is kind of crazy. Anyways, perhaps an omen of things to come later. Anyways, so if we do break to the downside, coming back down to 83.50 is actually not a huge deal for the macro, but what happens after that is going to be a huge deal, going to be very indicative, like I said, of where we are on the macro scale of things. As if the bounce fails to get back above and regain, especially like 86, 86.50 on a medium time frame close, meaning, you know, anywhere between like a 4-hour, 12-hour, of course, higher time frame better, then I would be looking at this to be our next major top, and we will come back down below 8,000 overall over time. It'll be likely a slow bleed. fuck is that word? And I'd be looking for price action to come probably back down to about 7,500-ish region or 7,600-ish region, and then we reassess from there. That's obviously a little bit longer term. But the same token to the upside, that's a little bit more exciting. However, as always, I have to remind myself that even though we would be popping back up to test around the 200 moving average right here, this white moving average long term, I have to keep in mind that this is still long-term macro bearish. I mean, we're still in a long-term downtrend here. As long as the weekly, as long as the weekly is in a downtrend, as long as the weekly is, well, quite literally not in an uptrend, the absence of, it's hard to be macro bullish, but doesn't mean that it can't happen. I'm just saying that, there's a lot of things to kind of chew through before we actually flip that around. So I want to kind of scale it back because I know a lot of people are getting very, very excited right now. Saw some headlines on like CNN or CNBC or whatever the fuck it is earlier this morning talking about Bitcoin going to 10,000 or whatever the fuck, and usually that's a little bit of a sign to kind of scale back. So while the weekly actually does look really, really good here, and I actually do think that this is potential, this is a potential mounting of a reversal here, I still will not call a macro reversal to the upside and get massively bullish until we close a weekly dodo above our last prior high, constructing our first uptrend on a month, or sorry, not a monthly, but on a weekly. For the first time in over half a year. More importantly, looking at this from the history, from the annals of history, we do see that Bitcoin on the weekly trend has gotten just about all the major moves right. Anytime that we've had a reversal on the weekly, those are your 70% moves to the downside. Anytime we've had a reversal on the weekly to the upside, those are your this is that's this, and more recently another 400% move to the upside over here. So again, that's why I'm not in any sort of a rush to be calling a reversal, just because if we actually do get a reversal, well, there's likely to be significant more gains to be had, probably into the mid-teens, I would imagine. Anyways, that's well and far away right now. What I want to focus on right here is actually the daily, because the daily has a very, 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 very similar setup, eerily similar setup to what we saw in 2018. In fact, this is extremely, extremely similar in the sense that, not in the sense that it's fucking fractal, a goddamn fractal squirrel is going to start barking up around here, but in the sense that we have moving averages suggesting that, let's just actually look into it. We got the white 200 symbol right over here in 2018. Rejecting price action once, twice on this little high right here. Same thing over here, a little bit different, of course. Bitcoin trades above, but at the end of the day, these are not, again, supposed to be like identical fractals. This is not the focus of it. We're using just moving averages around price action to kind of standardize and set something in for a technical analysis edge. That's more tangible. Fractals are, bullshit for crypto Twitter to balk about. I don't know any professional who trades on fractals. Anyways, or at least certainly not as their first or secondary kind of analysis tool. Anyways, after that, we get the death cross right here on the daily between the green and the purple. Same thing right on over here. 50 and 200 cross to the downside. Then we get the cyan and the purple cross right here, which means all lower periods below higher periods on major moving averages. That happens right on over here. Soon after, Bitcoin gets all major moving averages with negative slopes soon after that. And Bitcoin is then trending to the downside as long as you're below the yellow 20-minute exponential moving average right here. And it's not until we actually catch it over here on this inverted head and shoulders where Bitcoin's launched up and, well, has this nice bear market rally in 2018. Very similar over here. Bitcoin's trending to the downside as long as we're below the 21. We regain it over here. Not necessarily inverted head and shoulders, but is a descending broadening wedge, and boom, massive launch to the upside. Not only that, but you'll probably remember back in 2018, everyone was drawing a triangle like or a descending trend line like this, right? But what people probably don't remember as much is that before this price action happened right here, which provided rejection on this trend line, people actually drawn this trend line similar to how they're doing it right now, which was something like this. Yeah, something like this, which had obviously broken right on over here, and people are getting very, very excited about that, similar to how everyone's drawing this same trend line right on over here and saying that it's broken, which I'd agree with. But of course, a new trend emerged, and this is why I do not like diagonal trend lines, and why I'm always a little bit skeptical when I see someone using diagonal trend lines, because in my experience, they ain't so fucking good. If anything, horizontals are the one that I think works best. diagonals, I see a lot of ambiguity around them, and I see a lot of people slowly but surely changing them around. With each and every like pixel that you change, that's multiple dollars in price action, and that adds up a shit ton over time, especially. So anytime we're looking at long-term analysis, well, I would really like to get away from using diagonals for that reason. And you saw a lot of people get wrecked in 2018 thinking that we were back on the bull market off there. But what was the real defining factor of what Bitcoin was doing? Well, we were just making lower highs on a weekly. Again, the weekly trend is your friend if you just let it be. And as you can see right on over here, we were nowhere near making new weekly highs. So I would still be skeptical with this price action. I'm not saying that it can't get back above, but I would like to see it confirm first before I get macro bullish, because we are getting really, really close towards that next sort of major critical point for Bitcoin in the lower time, or sorry, in the higher time frames, which tells me it's time to kind of back off a little bit. So yes, again, same, very, very similar price action right in over here. Bitcoin is going to be approaching that 200 simple, similar to how we did over here. And, approaching this next downwards trend line, which, you can kind of draw on right here. And I'm sure that, someone can find a way to make this work if we drew it from this last little high right here. In fact, we'd actually be meeting it right now. Anyways, again, I don't think that that's all that important. What I think is important is the horizontals here, of which we'll have one right around the 200 simple on the daily, which is very much angled to the downside now, just like it was in 2018, and like freshly angled to the downside as well, which usually it takes it takes a while for it to unfuck itself. So not only do we have the 200 simple coming in right around about 90.50, 9100ish region, we do have, of course, not only do we have that, but the problem with this is that the weekly high, where we actually reverse the trend long term, where we actually reverse the macro trend, is still another $340 above that, right around 9,500. So got to chew through a lot of shit first before get too excited here. Even though this actually does look good, I just want to be a little more cautious because I don't want to get caught in something like a lot of people got caught in over here. As it stands on the lower term timeframes and kind of following up from yesterday's analysis, is Bitcoin trying to flag out right here? Yeah, that's what the bulls are looking at. Is Bitcoin showing some signs of distribution here? Yeah, that's what the bears are looking at. At the end of the day, this is as complicated as it needs to be, in my opinion. Any sort of a 4-hour to close above our last little prior highs on a closing basis, about 88.20ish region. And yes, I would target a move towards about 90.50 to 9200ish region in this blue box right here. And I would be looking for another short-term pullback right there. If we do break to the downside, or even just take out this low at 85.50, I would look for that move to come all the way down here to this blue box between 83 and 83.50 and have a bounce there. And then we get to reassess the bounce after that happens. And again, if the bounce gets back above 8,600, 8,650 by daily close, that looked pretty damn good. And I actually do think that the probabilities are on a downside test here. Let's actually go check out the probabilities chart with regards to historical volatility percentile. And what do we see? We do see something quite interesting, in fact. So for both sides on the first in deviation, we actually don't really get too much off it. In fact, this is suggesting that we probably do have like a pretty nice move today. Whether it be to the upside or the downside. I'm talking about a multi-$100 move outside of the current range. So it's actually quite likely that we actually do break the range today. The first deviation showing around 8,400. So I would say that it is actually unlikely. It's quite unlikely that we do break below 8,300. I do think strongly that we will bounce there. The next big piece of price action will be decided how strong that bounce is. By the same token, top side of the first deviation coming in a little bit below $9,000. That could obviously change if we do move above our past prior high, which is about 8,900 even, or 89.16 and a half on Mexico here. And then yes, I'd be looking for that to open up a little bit. So to break below and actually really destroy structure here, we really need to get a daily total closing below about 8,300. And as you can see, that's between the first and second standard deviation to the downside. So that's probably less than a little bit of about a 10% chance. So again, I actually don't think that we break down here. I think that we probably test the downside, bounce up, and then the game begins once again, and we'll have to come back and kind of reassess that in real time. To the upside, same sort of thing, except a little bit more likely, just because the top side of the first deviation is obviously well above our last little prior highs. So, a little bit more within the probabilities, actually, in fact, that we do, that we actually do get a test up there as well. So, what does that mean? It means that we might even test both sides on the same day. Let's see if volatility is suggesting that we do have a nice move today. And I would imagine just by looking at the hourly right now, as volume kind of falls off in these lower time frames, we are getting pretty mature in this formation. Probably do have a break Yeah, this would be the 16th. Maybe, maybe in like, maybe sometime around like midday. It does look like we get a nice move here. Historical volatility percentile is still contracting though. Is it contracting? Yeah, it does seem to be contracting right now. Yes, we're no longer expanding. So that would likely mean that, yes, we're going to spend a little bit more time of the day with it playing within this range, and then probably pick a direction, maybe near end of day actually is what this would suggest. Let's see if the 2 hour says anything more indicative of that. The 2 hour is actually still showing red and still expanding here. So what does that mean? It means that we are likely coming into a critical point and likely a short-term time frame top. So yeah, I still would be running with that. As a downside test first, after kind of filling out this short-term range a little bit more. Maybe we get another move back up to like 8750, 8800. But after that, I probably would be looking for that to come back down. Again, I'm actually not trading this right now. All the easy trades were had the other day during that Twitch stream. And right now, I'm just happy to be watching and looking at 30-minute historical volatility percentile. We are contracting quite a bit here, but still, have a little bit of room to fill out before this starts to get indicative of like an actual nice move coming. Something that has enough juice to actually break even this more interim range right here between, again, about 8600 and 8800, we'll call it. So yeah. To be fair, we do have some higher lows here. So, bulls certainly could pull through. It's probably not that helpful of analysis. Probably like what everyone hates about technical analysis, like saying it could break to the upside or the downside. Well, that kind of, whenever someone says that, it just kind of shows that they don't really understand what the fuck this is, what the fuck the use of this is to begin with. The only use that we really have here is just that, we know that any sort of break, above or below this region, that offers up a nice edge. But as long as we're within this region, I could go both ways here, actually, the more and more that I look at it. But what does kind of tip me off is, again, looking at these medium time frames starting to curl down on the momentum oscillators. We do see that 4 hour Stokes coming down here, and we also do see a nice trend line forming, which would be coming in right at the edge of the bullish control zone, but that would suggest that we do come down and probably test around it. So would that likely come in around 8350-ish region? Yes, I do think so, and we probably bounce quite nicely there. And then, does it create some new? Do we have a nice constructive behavior after that? That just remains to be seen. So I don't really think that we have enough information to make a good decision right now, or at least I do not. Perhaps you do. And if you do, leave a comment, man. Anyways, looking at the 3 hour right here, looks to me like it's kind of broken down perhaps a little bit. If we were to draw that same trend line, it's actually going to be very close to breaking down right now. So again, I do think that the probabilities are on this breaking to the downside first, and then we'll see how that bounces. 2 hour kind of doing a little bit similar. Actually, kind of not. I don't know if I trust the 2 hour as much, but 2 hour Stokes are coming down, same as 3 hour, same as the 4 hour, and hourly are probably popping up here. But that likely aligns with Bitcoin, maybe filling out this area a little bit more. Like I said, popping back up to 8750, 8800. That's all the same to me. I don't really have a strong opinion on that. But after that, I probably would be looking for those medium timeframes to take back on over. Looking at the 10 hour, which has actually been getting things extremely well. We do see that 10 hour Stokes are starting to curl down, and they will confirm down in the next hour in about 8 minutes, it looks like, if we end anywhere here or lower. I think 12 hours probably looking relatively similar. Actually, no, it's not. 12 hours not, but we do have a little bit of bearish divergence on the 12-hour dildos here, and I believe 10-hour is showing the same thing as well. Yes, indeed. We have this point and actually 3 drives on that. So I do actually feel, I do feel like we do come back down a little bit here, and I'm curious, how high of a time frame do we get while still showing that same bearish divergence? Okay, so 12 hours still is the same. What about daily? I don't think that the daily does. No, the daily does not. So daily is still more or less healthy. I do think that it probably pops back down and tests around the exponential here. So again, I believe that that's going to line up with, a quick move down, bounce up, and then game on. However, the thing with the medium and the higher timeframes is that the daily RSI is still actually quite healthy here, at least in my opinion. We have had a change of behavior here confirmed. We've gotten back into the bullish control zone, back above the 65 marker for the first time really since June, July of 2019, when Bitcoin was on this massive rally attempt over here. So you can see that Bitcoin was finding resistance along this area on all of the major massive moves to the upside, or upside attempts, I should say, during that time, or between then and now, and we've actually fully and formally closed above that region and maintained in that region, which to me is quite powerful. Not only that, but I believe the 2 days showing about the same thing. Yes, indeed. You see that we were kicked out of the bullish control zone around July, and now popping back up around there. But again, the 2-day, likely to get rejected from this bullish control zone on the first pass. And I do think that we probably come down somewhere into this region here, somewhere around the exponential, and test there. So that would align with a little bit of a pullback within this region, which I do think is, I do think is likely. Looking at the 3-day, 3-day structure actually looks really good here. 3-day is more or less bullish in my opinion. However, again, same thing here. 3-day RSI probably going to pop back down and test around the around the upper echelon of the neutral zone is what it looks like to me, as 3-day Stokes really get way up there. Now, again, a change of behavior here. So longer term, it is good, but you do have to be or at least I look at that as kind of indicative. Okay, we're probably going to cool off a little bit, maybe try a little bit of down, a little bit of sideways, and then after another week or whatever the fuck it is, probably give another try to the upside. That would be my initial disposition on this price action. And same thing with 3-day RSI here as well. Okay, what else do we have? Weekly, I do think is still more or less fine. I wouldn't mind, in fact, from a weekly perspective, to come back down, around to that 8,300-ish region coming into next week. So I do think things are going to slow down a little bit for this next few days of trading action until we get the new weekly, essentially. But weekly momentum oscillators, contrary to the medium and lower time frames, are actually quite good here, quite healthy. Weekly Stokes pointed back up. We do have a change of behavior here as well, getting back above the same area that's basically held us down since September breakdown from 10.3, which is where we got bearish on. Well, it's quite literally just a change from weekly uptrend to weekly downtrend, and now maintaining above that area is important. Not only that, and more importantly, the weekly RSI getting back above the neutral zone, getting back above the exponential on this. I think that is pretty damn important as well. Not only that, I mean, that's quite literally what we've been held below ever since, again, June, July over here. So change behavior is the name of the game, but that doesn't mean that we can't have a pullback on this lower and medium time frames, which I think is quite likely. And also, I forgot to mention, well, we mentioned this a million times, but weekly Stokes showing the same trend line right here, holding us up from our February of 2019 lows, which was this higher low right here. Also connected with this rally attempt from what was it, about that $8,000 number to 10.5, and then more recently this guy right here. So does have a good history, and again, getting above that last little prior hump does tell me that we likely do actually give another try higher overall. So putting all the pieces together, short term a little bit down, medium term sideways, and then I do think longer term we get another try to the upside. As long as long as we're not getting any weekly deal to close below like 8,300-ish region, I think that's completely fine. Okay, all right. How long we've been recording already? 21 fucking minutes. Holy shit. Anyways, go check out the Bitcoin VWAP ratio. We do have something very, very important here. Nimbo showed me how to do this yesterday, but I've forgotten. I don't want to fuck it up. So anyways, again, I won't go through the full explanation of this right now because it's all in the playlist titled long-term analysis, where I go into a deep dive on this. So I'll just quickly update here. And if you want the full deep dive as to why this is important, definitely go onto that playlist. But we do actually see the purple middle moving average on the VWAP ratio actually getting, I believe, above. We don't have values here, which fucking sucks. But actually it does look like it's either getting above or already above the pink, all above the regression line that I've been kind of drawing in with my cursor right here. So to me, that's actually a change. That's actually a major macro change of behavior. And in fact, this would be the first time that we've actually seen something like that happen, because we did get the bear signal over here, which in the past has produced all of these 70% downs or more in Bitcoin's history. Talking about this area, talking about this area, this area, this area, this area, and this bull trap right here. And then more recently, right in over here, this one providing about a 55% move to the downside. Nothing, small or anything like that, but not really in line with what we've seen before. So I do think I'd rather see at least like one or two more closed kind of fully confirm that. But to be fair, if we do confirm that, that has also led up to all of our reversals as well. So also lining up for some pretty good stuff. Anyways, this would be one of the days where I do think that it's going to be a little bit valuable to look at some of the top altcoins, and see what they're doing to kind of get a more well-rounded bias here. And looking at Mrs. Litecoin, she traded all the way up to the 200 simple, hit our 60, or did she hit our $61 target? $60.50, close enough, man, and backing off from it right there. Still making lower highs on a weekly, to be fair. So I would say that this one looking like it's ready for a little bit more of a pullback. Daily is kind of putting a nice Jesus Christ dildo. We do have continuation below it, and we are going to see daily Stokes cross the downside in this region as well. So I do think that I do think that we are getting ready for a pullback here, just based off of looking at this. Could we trade back up to like 57.5 first? Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion on that, but any sort of a break below, especially the 4-hour 21x benchmark average, I look for a return to the mean somewhere right around about 51.5 bucks, and perhaps even lower than that. I mean, we'll see how we react in that region. That's going to be akin to Bitcoin's 8350-ish region, I'd imagine, which I do think it, at the very least, bounces it, on the first pass. Then we need to analyze it after that. Anyways, looking at Mr. Butyrol, pretty much the same chart here, essentially. Looking at the daily, hit the 200x benchmark average and down. And this is also the time to kind of look at the total market cap as well, which is what I was showing yesterday, and where we're getting rejected at the 200 simple. And now the 200 simple does have a pretty nasty negative slope. So I do think that, at the very least, we are going to trade down here and test some downside, and then the game begins. So for all the people getting very, very bullish right now, looking for the next, major targets to the upside to be hit, I think that's less likely to happen. I do think that that's on the wrong side of the market right now, at least in the short and medium time frames. If Bitcoin is going to remain bullish, or if Bitcoin is going to flip around to bullish macro, what's most likely to happen is we trade a little bit down, go a little bit sideways, maybe like a week, maybe 2 weeks, whatever it ends up being, and then try some upside again after setting a nice base in the lower 8,000s. But for right now, market to me looks like it wants to come down a little bit. Looking at the 2-day here, we do see that we have hidden bearish divergence potentially formulating itself. Although, you know what, I think I'm actually going to be massively wrong. No, sorry, I take that back. I'm going to be massively wrong about this. The 2-day is about to undo a death cross, which is going to be very, very powerful if and when it does get confirmed. So yeah, fair enough. I should not say that. In fact, that actually could make me quite bullish here. You know what? Again, man, if we do move to the upside, if we do take out basically that 8,800 high, essentially on a even a lower time frame close, this is actually gonna start to shut up pretty damn well. I'd be looking for a total market cap move back up to about 247.5 to 448 billion-ish region, and probably even beyond there. I mean, we'd quite literally just be testing the prior high after that. Probably sells off immediately, probably sells off on the first pass, but too strong of a move after that. The total market cap actually looks really good. It actually does look pretty good to me. God damn, man. Shouldn't have looked at this one. Anyways, let's go check out traditional markets. Still making new all-time highs. Holy shit, the market that never goes down. Love it, man. Fucking love it. And again, this is the beauty of being non-biased and just looking at, well, I probably do have my biases, of course, but just looking at the market from level to level here and just following the macro trend, which is the upside. And once again, we can move up that point of failure to $325, and as long as we're above there, still massively bullish on the short, medium, and long-term time frames. If we break there, it doesn't really destroy the macro, of course. Macro starts to get a little bit more in question below about 320.5, and again, we've just been walking this up with each and every passing day. It almost seems like, since we really got bullish somewhere back around like 260, I think it was. About a year ago now, which is kind of crazy to think. Very, 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 very stark reversal there and powerful move, which, as we've been showing, is highly correlated with Bitcoin. I'll quickly do it right here. I won't go into too much detail because, again, I am awaiting this package and I do have a feeling it's going to come maybe even soon. Anyways, looking at let's get off gold spot. Let's go to traditional markets. We do see a strong correlation coefficient between them on the macro, meaning a monthly. We do need to look at a monthly for traditional markets because that's what's going to get their macro. Just like the same thing like a weekly for Bitcoin. It has a lot less price action history, but more importantly, the R squared telling us that the fit of this correlation coefficient is extremely strong. This is one of the highest R squares I've seen for a Bitcoin and other asset essentially. I think it's the highest one that I have seen actually in general. So again, Bitcoin heavily correlated with traditional markets, and again, just looking at this on the whole, we do see that Bitcoin and traditional markets follow each other on the macro, and typically Bitcoin tops out a little bit before. They kind of top out around the same time, but Bitcoin maybe like a month before sometimes. They typically bottom out around the same time again, and then SPY has always made new all-time highs before Bitcoin follows, sometimes to the tune of like 3 months before, sometimes to the tune of like a year before, but SPY has always made new highs before, and SPY's been making new highs for the last 4 or 5 months in September essentially, and Bitcoin now just starting to pick itself up once again. So I do think that bodes well for Bitcoin long term. I do think that this, potentially could be a reversal point from here. But don't be surprised if, if we come back down and set in a little bit more of a base somewhere in this region here. The reason why I point that out, not that I'm saying that that's going to necessarily happen, but the reason why I point that out is because once again we can extrapolate this just one step further with a fundamental indicator, the hash ribbons down here, which anytime that we've gotten a buy signal on this, the low has actually already been in. The prior low that Bitcoin made was the low, but there's been several times where Bitcoin will come back down and revisit that low. So we did get a buy signal over here. I do think that historically means, and we have 9 iterations here, that Bitcoin will maintain the 6,600 low on a daily total closing basis. We can come back down, around that area and test it, but on a daily total closing basis, I would not expect it to be broken based off of this. But again, just going off of like the time from that signal to next reversal, now that is heavily variable. We do see this last example right here, getting the buy signal. Bitcoin comes back down to test around the low. We obviously do not make a new low, but as far as a timing tool, this is terrible. This one over here, pretty damn good timing actually, and also the low is in. This guy over here, pretty damn bad timing, but low was in over here. Same thing on this one, even worse though. Bitcoin even rallies up and comes all the way back down to that price point, but again, does not make new lows on a closing basis. And of course, the one before that, we have this example right here. This one was actually a pretty good one. This one over here, pretty damn good one. This one over here, a little bit less good, but still fine. And the low is in, of course. And then this guy over here, same thing. So I do think that is overall good. And while it does suggest that Bitcoin, could come back down around 73, 7,500-ish region if this area does fail, I would still actually be looking to be a buyer in that region, most likely. So yeah. And actually, while we are here on a daily, I should note that even with this last spike in volatility, we do see that we are still kind of maintaining the down on this, something like this. It's more like a regression now through there. But my point is that, if Bitcoin is going to actually break out to the upside here and really reverse it, like more immediately than not, meaning like, in these next few weeks, what I'd expect to see is historical volatility percentile on this daily maintain above this moving average. And the next big signal, more important to what I just said, is getting back above this last prior hump right here. As long as we're below that prior hump, you could probably do something like this. It doesn't need to be perfect, just needs to show that over time is kind of downtrending. But if we are going to maintain in this downwards channel and probably, test back down to the mid 7,000s, I'd imagine, then I'd expect us to kind of like top out here. Historic volatility percentile on a daily is going to come back down below this moving average, and we'll probably end up breaking the channel, sometime more like out here in April, May, something like that is when it becomes very, very likely. But for right now, still a little bit in limbo. So other than that, I want to check out the volume profile, and let's see. What are we looking at here? We do see a little bit of interest right around the 200 simple as well, but realistically, the next big area is going to be around actually 10.5. So not really getting too much off that. Point of control right around about a hair below 8,000. So fair enough. Don't really have too much to be gained off that other than that. But if we do move above this last little 8,800 high and close above there, could very easily rip. Another $300 to 9,150. I do believe that we would see that number. Okay, cool. What else do we want to look at? Some Forexes perhaps. Let's go look at dollar yen. Dollar yen maintaining the uptrend as we spoke about, and I do believe that this one has more to go. I do think that short term probably back up to 110.5, and then probably over time up into this blue box territory. And that is all as long as it maintains above this critical trend line right here at about 109.75. So yeah, seeing the golden cross happen on the daily right and over here. We got bullish on this one end of last week, and now we're getting follow through after retesting this region. I like that. Good. Let's look at pound yen. Pound yen, ooh, finally fallen suit as well. I'd still maintain what I'm saying, but because dollar yen is looking good, I would say that pound yen probably does fall through as well. However, still needs to clear 144.1, even just trading above this last prior high, and I'd look for an extension to our to the 146.1 region and probably beyond after that. This is going to look like an actual reversal, and we're going to maintain this on the macro most likely. Longer term, probably work our way up here. What about gold dollar? Gold dollar is like no shit. As we said yesterday, bouncing off this blue box territory, I do think that this one tests up a little bit higher. I do think that it's going to test like 1575 again, and I actually do think that this one is going to give another try, ultimately higher than that, up to here. However, I would switch around to medium term bearish if this does break below about 1535, even just trades below this low right here, which was 1536. So yeah, that would probably be good enough for me. I think the weekly though is having a damn strong reaction after retesting our prior breakout. So I'd actually still remain overall bullish on this on the macro. Short term, medium term, sideways, and we've kind of already tested the downside. So if we do come back down and test it again, that's where I'd change around to being bearish on this and looking for this to come all the way back down, below 1500 essentially, and lower than that over time. It'd be a failed attempt. Euro dollar working its way back up to 111.5. Again, while I have been short-term, medium-term bullish on this, I do want to exercise caution here. Any sort of a weekly close below 111, and I'd immediately become bearish for a move back down to test the prior lows. By the same token, I'm cautiously bullish, essentially as long as we're above that region. And technically, the target still remains somewhere around like 113 and a half. It's chugging its way along there. It's looking okay. So I'll just leave it at that. And what else do we have? Oh yeah, let's go check out GBTC. Haven't looked at that. GBTC looking pretty staunch here. But same sort of thing, kind of finding some resistance in this region. I don't think that GBTC is leading right here though, unfortunately, but we are getting some good crosses on the moving averages. So, it is setting in a nice base, but that doesn't mean that we can't come back down and test around $9.5. Let's go check out CMEs. How our CME is doing. CME's on a 12-hour is going to probably have some bearish evidence. Indeed, it does. Yeah, this is really going to help round out my bias here. I do think that we come back down to this region here. At the very least, we're also going to see 12-hour Stokes likely come down at the same time. Now, I would be looking for them to bounce somewhere along this proverbial trend line. But that would suggest that we do have some decent downside here. Let's look at the weekly for CMEs. Weekly still looks okay. It could certainly afford some downside here. 4 hour, anything obvious? 4 hour Stokes coming down. 3 hour Stokes down, 2 out, down, hourly popping up. Maybe another test the upside here and then fall on over. Let's see if Jewel's lining up for anything here. No, not yet. Not yet. Well, actually, the 2 hour did give it a pretty damn good sell signal. And by the way, if you do have access to the Jewel, always check CMEs for signals, because if you do see a signal on spot, it should, if it's going to be a good signal, also be shown on CMEs. That was a secret to the signal the other day on why it was not going to work out. If you already haven't watched the videos, which again, the new videos are on crowntrading.net under the subscriptions tab for the Jewel, and that told you to short right around about 89.50 and already about a $300 move. Which do we bounce here a little bit more or not? We'll see. Anyways, I think that's about it. I do want to remind myself that on the daily for Bitcoin, we do have some nice moving average crosses between the yellow 21 and the green 55. However, we can come back down and retest that region and, just add validity to it, but doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to just blast off to the fucking heavens right now. So, again, to kind of wrap up my thoughts here, I do think that Bitcoin trades a little bit down. Probably back down to about 8350, 8300-ish region. I would be looking for a bounce within that region, and then we'll come back and reassess after that. If the bounce gets back above about 8600, 8650 and closes above there on a medium time frame, I would say that that's more or less looking pretty damn good for another try to the upside, like a legitimate try to the upside, meaning 9100, give or take about $50. By the same token, if the bounce, peters out a little bit early, which realistically I'm going to do another video tomorrow, so I don't think that this happens before that. But if it were to peter out a little bit early and then actually break 8,300 the downside and close, I would really like to see like a 12-hour below there. Then yes, very likely Bitcoin comes back down below 8,000, and we will flush out this mid 7,000s region for a lot more time. So yeah, right now I'm a little bit I'm cautious here, not really wanting to trade this. I'll probably take some scalps here and there, but for right now I want Bitcoin to just let me know what it wants to do. It's a very hairy situation, because if we do move to the upside, it doesn't necessarily change around the macro. There's a lot of things hanging out overhead. I'd rather see clarity on that situation first before taking more long-term positions. But for right now, kind of like a day trader's game, and Bitcoin offering up plenty of volatility for that purpose. So as always, man, I want to wish you the best, or girls, or whatever gender pronoun that you might possess. I want to wish you the best of the best. I want to wish you a happy rest of your Thursday. Like I said, I'll very likely be back on Twitch a little bit later tonight. And until then, take care.